you interested in holding the sign? Are you interested in just holding? Yeah.
Call to order for the City of Cannon Falls City Council meeting Tuesday, October 7th, 2025. If I could get a roll call, please.
Diane Johnson.
Here.
Zimmerman.
Here.
Chad Johnson.
Here.
Jefferson.
Here.
Nobody.
Here.
Cronenberger.
Here.
Montgomery.
Here. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If I could get a motion to approve tonight's agenda. The motion is from Lisa, second by Jeff. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Public input. Public input is intended to afford the public an opportunity to address concerns to the City Council. The public input will be no longer than 30 minutes in total length, and each speaker will have no more than 3 minutes to speak. Speakers may address topics relevant to the governance of the city. Speakers must sign up in advance and must provide their name, address, and the topic they intend to address. Comments must be on topic, respectful, pertinent to city business, and adhere to the applicable data privacy rules. Any speaker that violates these rules will be asked to sit down, and if the speaker refuses to comply, they may be removed from the meeting. Speakers shall not address topics that are the subject of a public hearing. All such comments shall be made at the public hearing. The City Council will not generally act on issues raised by the public input, but may choose to schedule consideration of the item on a future agenda. Leading off tonight, we've got Carrie Lundeen, Data Center.
Hi, I'm Corey Lundeen. I first want to thank all of you for your service. Politics is very fraught right now.
Kari, if you could press the little button on the bottom of the microphone.
Laura will do it
Laura's
for you.
got you.
I'll have to wear my glasses to
There
see
you
that.
go. There you go. Thank you, Kari.
So anyway, thanks for your service. I understand data centers are a necessity and that we're on the precipice of a technological revolution bigger than anything that we've seen in my lifetime, and I'm old. I also understand these projects and the companies that need them in order to infiltrate every single aspect of our lives aren't in it for us. They're in it for them. TRAC doesn't represent our interests. Data center developers are targeting small towns across the nation, hoping not only to overwhelm us, but outsmart us. They and the people they represent seem to be succeeding at both. I just don't see what's in it for us. Taken in context with the story in the Beacon last month about drastic cuts in the school board could make to save money if the referendum doesn't pass in November, this data center deal is particularly troubling. Cannon Falls schools have not received an inflation-adjusted increase in funding in decades. Tax revenue from this data center, which would help fund our schools, would instead go to Randolph. The hoped-for handful of data center employees won't be able to find housing in Cannon, not to mention the schools in Randolph and Northfield will be better funded and offer more opportunities. Meanwhile, the data center will consume our extra bandwidth for water and sewer services for residents. It may lower the very height of the water in the aquifer, causing many of us with wells to drill deeper. It will cause our energy bills to spike, and in the words of another developer's representative, they recommend keeping a generator in our garages for brownouts. The noise and light pollution will even rob us of the quiet and darkness in which to see the stars. Those were the very reason many of us moved here in the first place. That's it.
Thank you very much. Next up is Jeff Weeks.
John.
Jeff? Okay. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you for having the meetings and listening. So I'm following up for this is my third meeting for the data center. And I listened to everything that the company had to say, and I realized that mostly it was just sales pitch. I started to research and I wanted to hear decibel hertz sound pressure for one. Nothing, just, it won't be any louder than 52. Well, do we want 252s? You know? It just goes on and on. You know? And I wonder, you know, the last meeting, there was some talk about we need to know more. Well, I haven't heard about any committees formed or anything to go talk to the other towns that now have data centers. We had a representative come over from Farmington to speak to us and to give us some heads up. And I don't know if that's been followed up at all. We desperately should have gotten more information, but many of us have gone and looked for our own. Tell me if I hit, when I hit 2 minutes.
Yep, I'll let you know.
A realistic scenario, one she just kind of described, but concerning things like the diesel emergency flag. With a computer system, which is what this is, it's gigantic, you don't get fluctuation, all right? So they do have massive capacitors, but they keep those capacitors charged. So every time there's a little fluctuation, you say, "Oh, we're gonna strengthen the grid and all the input." No, it's not. I run music here. I have a gadget. It's a conditioner, and for my electric supply, and it shows me the voltage right on there. You know? It goes up and down. Those things are completely automated. They are going to kick on a diesel generator, boom, 3 a.m., whenever it is. They're just going to go on whenever they go on, all right? And there's just going to be, like, all these endless annoyances. And,
30 seconds.
So, what would you do about it? You would do nothing, because once a data center is here, you are disempowered. You have no power, you have no say, you do not have lawyers that can deal with their lawyers, and if you ever tried to make them shut down a floor or something to just make it not be such a problem, eventually they'll say, can't do it, it's national security, because one of the gentlemen from the company, when he was asked what's on there, he said, everything.
Thank you, Jeff. Next up, Tim Deemer.
Can I request, the others are for all data, can I go at the very end? I should have signed up last.
Do you want to be the last one, Tim?
Yeah,
I can save it to the end.
thank you.
That makes us Alyssa Jacobson.
Hey there, thank you for hearing all of us today. I just want to echo what everyone else has been saying. I'm really concerned about the water quality, both its level and what they're putting into the water to keep things cool and what that's going to do to our water systems. I'm a farmer, and I know most farmers are out harvesting right now, but we've got some of the best soil and water quality in the world. And once this data center puts up shop here, I'm concerned about it expanding and what that's going to look like for land prices, but also for water usage. And it's, people's home wells, but it's also agricultural wells. And what is that going to do to our local farmer economy? That also affects our schools. Farmers affect our schools and our hospitals, how many people we have in our town. So I'm concerned about all that. When we're talking about being pro-business, I want to make sure the farmers' voice is included as well. So I'm concerned about the water, and I'm also really concerned about the noise pollution. I know that there's been a lot of conversation in this town about the racetrack. Folks are already pretty aware of that being an issue. And so that's something I don't take lightly either. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, we've got Ann Busselmeyer. Did I get the name okay?
Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I have profound concerns regarding the proposed data center development, and I would like to advocate at this time for a crucial step in this process. This proposed development represents an undertaking of immense scale for the City of Cannon Falls. While I deeply respect the diligent and the countless hours of the City Council and the city staff that have already been invested in this proposal, I firmly believe that this project is at a juncture where the current resources working on this project need specialized expertise to assure that all aspects of the proposed development are in the best interest of the city and not TRAC. Has anyone seen any specific written commitments from TRAC that specify community benefits? The technical, legal, environmental, and financial issues associated with the development of this size certainly far exceed the scope of projects that typically are encountered by the city of Cannon Falls and the council members. And in fact, that was actually discussed at one of the council meetings, like in July, that one of the council members brought up that maybe a specialist should be hired to oversee this whole process. And at that time, John Rademacher, he indicated that there are consultants under an escrow agreement that are being utilized. And I'm just wondering if there is an allocation in the current escrow to hire an independent, not TRAC, not an employee of the city, an independent consultant, land management special. And then they can do an impartial professional guidance of this whole process. And then we can assure that the decisions haven't been influenced by TRAC. This project has too many potential negative consequences to rely on the resources of staff, or of even more concern to rely on the information provided by TRAC. TRAC is feeding us information all the time. They have a question, it gets answered. I don't know if the answers are right or not, but I think we need an outside, dependent person to look at it.
30 seconds.
Okay. The land has been annexed, zoning changes, ordinances rewritten, and now it's into conditional use permits and variances. This project needs to be put on hold before there's a passage of any more permits or variances, and let's make sure it's been done right up to this point. This development will forever change and alter the character of Cannon Falls. There's some literature in which it is widely acknowledged that data center developments such as TRAC often strategically select smaller.
Yeah. 3 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Frida. Appreciate it. Next up is Anna, is it Lindahl or Lundahl?
Lundahl.
Lundahl.
First of all, thank you for hearing this public input tonight. I do appreciate it. As you already know, my name is Anna Lindahl. I've lived here my whole life, and that's my husband and my children on the back wall. We just bought our house here in April, and we're planning on putting down roots here and settling here and giving our children a future here. So I understand that Cannon Falls has some issues with growth and budget and taxes, and that sometimes change is inevitable, but I also believe that this data center is not the kind of change that we need in Cannon Falls. So I would like to pose to the council tonight 6 questions that I've seen raised by the community that perhaps you haven't considered yet. So the first question is, will there be a clearly defined cap on the water usage of the data center? And will there be a provision in place to give future city councils the ability to negotiate to protect the businesses and residents that are already here in Cannon Falls? Second question, is there a surety bond in place to protect the city for an incomplete project or project abandonment, which is very possible, as you all know? The third question is, will the infrastructure of this data center be designed to support other options like an industrial park or a new housing development in the event that the data center goes under and the building is no longer used for its intended purpose? The fourth question is this council going to find a way to address the noise pollution issues? And what resources will be made available for residents who suffer from adverse effects of the noise pollution? The fifth question is, are you going to be generating maximum taxable income from this project? And are there any deals or tax cuts that the city is giving the data center that they are not already getting from the state and federal government? And my final question is, are you going to forbid or cap the transfer of energy costs from the data center to residents of Cannon Falls? Is the data center going to pay for 100% of the electricity that they use? And furthermore, is there a fund in place to supply financial aid to low-income residents, such as myself, if the utility bills increase as a result of this data center? So I would say until all of these questions are clearly answered, and there is a contract in place that clearly benefits the citizens of Cannon Falls, the citizens of Cannon Falls that oppose this data center will do everything in our legal power to prevent this data center from happening. Thank you.
Next up is Luke Lundahl.
Thank you very much for having me. My name is Luke Lundahl. My wife just spoke from Cannon Falls here. Moved here about 5 years ago at our house in April. I just want to say before the council that it is my wish and opinion that this data center be stopped. And this doesn't come from Cannon Falls on both a practical level, an aesthetic level, and a matter of principle. Regarding the matter of principle, we all know that AI, big tech, is the race for the future. They say that that is going to be the next Cold War, is the AI race. And so data centers are popping up all over the country. You can look at news articles, videos, independent articles about how these things are just popping up like crazy all over the country. And it seems like places like Cannon Falls are their primary target. We're out of the way, we're out of the big city, we got plenty of farm ground, perfect place to set up these massive multi-hundred acre facilities. And as a matter of principle, for small town America, rural America, that's not what we're about. We want that crap. The reason we moved to Cannon Falls is to get away from that. Like, we are in the perfect location, like my wife alluded to, that we moved here is because we're away from Rochester, we're away from the cities, we're kind of out here, and it's not Northfield, we're out in this kind of a little mix of rural America and farm country. It's the perfect place to raise little kids, nice quiet community. We're not about to have big tech come in and set up massive industrial complexes around this town just because we have plentiful resources for them to exploit. On a practical level, my biggest concerns are, if you look at the news articles, videos, independent articles about all these data centers that are popping up like crazy all over the country, the two biggest issues that come up in these interviews and these exposés are the energy usage and the water consumption. Depending on if these facilities have like a closed loop cooling system, like a vehicle, or if they're using some sort of radiant heating where they're actually using water, pumping it up, and using that to cool these massive data centers. If that's the case, something like this size data center, the estimates are between 300,000 and 500,000 gallons of water per day, which is 208 gallons a minute of a flow rate, which is definitely, I'm no engineer, but I am a diesel mechanic. I know what it takes for setting up pumps and meters, and I know that that amount of flow rate would definitely disturb the aquifer, stir up a bunch of silt, sand, potentially contaminate our water quality. The second thing is the offset cost of the energy companies having to develop the infrastructure, which will be offset to the consumer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Luke. Ginger Bauer, Data Center.
Well, first I'd like to thank you for your service on the City Council. I know you've put a lot of work on on behalf of the residents of Cannon Falls, and we appreciate that. By now you are aware of the controversy surrounding the data centers and some of the risks of harm to our environment and possible increased energy costs to area residents, so I won't go into those details. I've been a Cannon Falls resident for over 24 years, and a downtown business owner for 7 years. I recently retired. In that time, I met and listened to thousands of people who came to this area to partake in the beauty and amenities that we have to offer. They came from all directions and they told me how they loved seeing the beauty here. Overall, they came for the friendly, small town experience. Some, like me and my family, came back and live here because of that visit. And whenever I leave town and come back into it, whether it's along Highway 52 or one of the other points of entry, my breath catches at the beauty in this valley. And I feel very lucky to live here. When I try to envision a data center, a massive data center in the fields along Highway 52, one of the first and most often viewed glimpses that people get of Cannon Falls, I envision something that blocks the view of the bluffs in the distance during the day and generates light pollution at night. It certainly isn't a feature that I can imagine would entice people to take the exit to explore the community further and to move here. I describe all of this because I don't believe a massive data center will enhance the beauty and reputation of Cannon Falls, and it could well detract from it. You've heard about the concerns of the area residents, but we haven't heard from you regarding what the actual benefits are going to be to this community, not the marketing points from Tract, but the cold facts. So I'm asking you to take these steps. 1, take the time to listen and investigate the concerns of citizens. 2, hold a town hall meeting where folks can ask questions directly to you and to city staff and receive answers instead of just giving folks a 3-minute time to vent. Tell us exactly what benefits you expect this community to receive by proceeding with this development. This is an important issue that will affect this community and the surrounding area for generations to come. While I consider myself a change agent, an early adopter of new ideas, and I do support community development, we also have to guard against change for the sake of change, resulting in a lot of work with no benefit. No matter how much work the city staff and the developer and you have put into this, or what statute constraints that you are under, you have the power to step up and protect the best interests of this community, our neighbors, and our environment. Please have the courage to do so. Thank you.
And last up tonight, Tim Deemer.
Tim Deemer, Cannon Falls. I just first and foremost like to thank all the seated, or all of you that are part of the city that we live in and share and enjoy. Just would like to also just ditto everything that was said. The last thing that was spoken, I was going to comment on that a little bit, but then she was saying about, I wasn't expecting this to be, this discussion on the data project or whatever, the data center, but I came for another reason. I've called this home for over 34 years now. I've moved here in '91. And like what was mentioned about, how did she say that? She counts herself lucky to be there. I did for the first 20 years, having a stable job, decent employer, so on and so forth, but it's just been declining so rapidly. I think mainly I don't really believe in luck of chance or whatever, but it seems like my luck has run out a decade or more ago, both in personal life, family, to community, and so on. I take these out, but the lighting, sensitive to the lighting seems to help some. But I had 2 issues, there's way too much to get into it. One of them had dealing with what I came to the last 2 meetings, or two board meetings at the library, public library board meeting, twice. And I think, if my memory serves me, this is my second time here, regarding this apology, stating that the board, so I got a reply back from the president of the library board discussing that the board asked me what action I'd like seeking, and I thought for sure to get an apology and in writing, and some have commented, I think last time Mr. Novak said that it was done, but things just seem to get swept in the carpet. And this, if you consider this an apology, that the president, Bruce Caldwell, mentioned that they believe they received an apology when Library Director Miller said she A, regretted that I felt that way, and B, that Director Miller did not intend to treat me with the disrespect, disdain, unprofessionalism. So I want to get to the bottom of this.
We're past 3 minutes, Tim. All right.
And I got a bigger issue with the police officers, with what I wrote on my comment about who to trust and who to understand.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. That's it for public input. Tonight we have 2 presentations. Leading off first tonight will be school board referendum presentation from the school board chair, Clinton Shoquist.
First off, good evening, council. Thank you for giving the time to give a quick presentation, John as well, and thank you all for serving. I know firsthand it's quite a thankless job, and I know all the time that goes on behind the scenes that the public doesn't often see, and thank you for all of that. So with respect to time, normally this is about a 35-40 minute presentation that we put on and go in depth. I'm going to go rattle through this, and I'm going to try to get done in about 10 minutes here because I have another presentation at 7:15. So, just to start off, yeah, we're going out for an operating levy on November 4th. On November 4th, Cannon Falls Area School District voters will be asked to support a $950 per pupil, subject to an annual increase at the rate of inflation operating levy to support the day-to-day operations of the school district. This would give the school district operating revenue estimated at between $700,000 and $950,000. I also want to add, by putting that rate of inflation, that would have nothing to do with the school. That would be tied to the consumer price index, which is set by the federal government. So I'm going to play a quick video here. I'm hoping I can get this to work.
After headlines across Minnesota declared record school funding in 2023, you may be asking yourself, why are so many school districts making budget cuts and going to voters for more funding? Here are the top reasons Minnesota schools are struggling to balance budgets. Number 1, inflation. Families aren't the only ones feeling the impact of rising costs. For school districts, the costs of labor, health insurance, property insurance, and school bus transportation continue to rise. The 2023 inflationary increase to the general education formula is a step forward, but it doesn't make up for decades of underfunding and failing to keep up with rising inflationary costs. Number 2, unfunded and underfunded mandates from the state. When it comes to some of the most costly things schools have to pay for, it's the state legislature, not the local school board, who makes these decisions. From implementing new instructional strategies to increasing curricular requirements to providing unemployment benefits, there are decisions made at the state level that local districts must follow. While the state may offer one-time funds to help pay for some new requirements, the ongoing costs are often the school district's responsibility. And number 3, the changing role of schools in our communities. The needs of students are different than they were 10, 20, or 30 plus years ago. From mental health support for students, specialized learning assistance, family resources, and career programs to help meet workforce needs, schools have taken on additional responsibilities to meet the needs of their students and community. When you add rising safety needs, aging buildings and technology, and declining birth rates, it's clear why Minnesota districts struggle to balance their budgets. School funding is complex, with the majority of funding coming through the state in the form of general education aid. Schools also receive funds for specific categories that can only be spent on certain items. Additional needs are then covered by property taxes. In other words, just because the state is providing us with more dollars doesn't mean we can use those dollars wherever we like. Each year, we tackle the challenge of balancing these funding sources with our increasing expenses to build an effective budget that meets student needs. When our student needs exceed state and local funding, we may seek additional support through a referendum. As you can see, there's more to the story beyond headlines of schools receiving record funding, inflation, unfunded mandates, and a changing role for schools. Funding schools is an investment in our students, community, and future. Please reach out to your elected officials and share your story so they can help do their part to make sure our students and our schools are receiving the resources they need for success. Visit our website to learn more.
All right, the need for additional funding isn't new. We've made reductions over the past 7 years to address our budget challenges, align teaching and support positions to enrollment, increase class sizes, reduce department and building projects, delayed maintenance project and facility updates. Last November, we asked voters to consider an operating levy, and that failed. The need is real. As a result of the unsuccessful levy last year, the district was forced to make nearly $800,000 in reductions for the 25-26 school year. This included eliminating teaching positions, eliminated coaching and advisor positions, increased or created fees for facility use and activities, reduced eliminated technology plus curriculum subscriptions, restructured administrative positions, delayed a bus replacement purchase, eliminated a bus route, and reduced district budgets. Despite our financial challenges, great things are happening in our classrooms. Cannon Falls area Cannon Falls area schools are the leader in the area in test scores. Our reading and math scores have been above the state average for the past 5 years. Our career and technical educational courses are preparing students for high demand and well-paying jobs after graduation. Our food service program is a recognized leader in the state. U.S. News and World Report has placed Cannon Falls area schools in the top 20% of high schools in the state. Cannon Falls area schools offers competitive academic and enrichment programs that other school districts don't offer. And we are committed to hands-on and experimental learning. A lot of different things that are shown in this picture here is kind of a shout out to our Ed Foundation and different things that our Ed Foundation provides that the normal school budget doesn't cover. Our graduation rate is above the state average. So why the need for voter funding? In this graph you can see the bottom dashed line, that is what the funding that we are receiving per pupil. If you look at the very top line, that is if funding would have kept up with inflation, what we would be receiving. So if you look all the way from 2003 all the way to 2025, we have a $1,470 funding gap. That equates to about $1.5 million less that we are receiving. The current referendum that we're looking at going for, we're hoping for somewhere between $850,000 and $950,000. So still a lot less than what we should be receiving. I also just want to add, if we went off of our budgets based on what the city or what the county has done, if we went off the county's projection of what their budget has done, we have roughly about an extra $10 million a year to work with right now. If we went off with what the city has done, we'd have about an extra $5 million. We're looking for about $1 million, so 20% of that. Why the need for voter-approved funding? School districts have new mandates from the state, all of which cost additional money, including additional course requirements, paid medical leave, unemployment, discipline requirements, and mandated teacher training. The funding shortfall means most school districts rely on local taxpayers for support. 72%, we're not alone in this, 72% of school districts utilize an operating levy, and that number is continuing to grow. There's a tremendous amount of schools that are going out for operating levies this year. Our operating levy hasn't increased since 2004. How do Cannon Falls taxes compare to other districts? Now, this is total school property taxes payable in 2025 on a home with an estimated market value of $375,000. So right now, Cannon Falls is at $1,276. You'll see we just right below the middle of what our surrounding schools are. So just a few schools below us, a few above us, and some are significantly higher.
Clinton, do you know who's going out for referendum or a levy there?
For sure, Goodhue is. So that's where, if you look at Goodhue, where they're at right now, if I remember correctly, talking to Evan, their superintendent, based on what their home values are in Goodhue, they're asking for $800,000, and I believe that was going to raise. It was going to be about $600 extra or something like that. So theirs would go up significantly higher on their tax base there.
I believe Farmington has one too, their yard sign.
Yeah, I think Farmington is also going out for one too. I haven't talked with their superintendent, so I don't know the specifics on that one. This graph here shows what we receive per pupil for total funding. So that's where you can see the state average is at $10,708. We are down at $9,452. We rank 283rd in the state. I will also say some of these schools down here that you see receive less. It's quite common that when we look at their MCA scores, a lot of those schools are towards the lower level on that as well. So it seems like that kind of correlates. So you can go on the MD website if you want to look of what every school has for test scores. What will be on the ballot? The Board of Independent School District number 252, Cannon Falls Area Schools, Minnesota has proposed to increase the school district's general education revenue by $950 per pupil, subject to an annual increase at the rate of inflation. Like I said, that is tied to the CPI. The proposed new referendum revenue authorization will be the first levied in 2025 for taxes payable in 2026 and applicable for 10 years unless otherwise revoked or reduced as provided by law. Shall the referendum revenue authorization proposed by the Board of Independent School District 252, Cannon Falls Area Schools, Minnesota be approved, yes or no? By voting yes on the ballot question, you are voting for a property tax increase. So what's this going to cost you? This just kind of shows a chart so you can look up if you know what your property is worth. And this is a levy, so this goes based off of home, garage, and 1 acre. It is not all land. So if we look at the previous chart was based off of 375,000, which that's what we found was the average in the Cannon Falls School District. So 375, you'd be looking at about an increase of $325 a year, or roughly $27 a month. Now, I'm going to go back up, if I can get that off. So if we add 325 to our 1276, we're going to be roughly around 1,600. That is still going to put us below Goodhue, but like we talked about, they are going out for an operating levy as well, which if theirs passes, they'll go up quite a bit. So we would jump Hastings, but we still would be right in the middle. On our website, you can pull up this exact presentation here, and then we have this tool right here where you can type in your estimated market value, and it'll show you exactly what your price increase would be. So what happens if the levy is not successful? If the levy is not successful, the school board will cut another $700,000 in staff, program, and services from the annual operating budget. And that's just for the next year. The year after that, there's going to be more, and the year after that, and it's going to continue and continue and continue because inflation continues to eat us up. School boards identified the following items for consideration to reduce expenses and increase revenue. Eliminate teaching positions, reducing the number of sections in the youngest grade levels and increasing class sizes to an average of 26 students per class. We're talking kindergarten through second grade, having class sizes around 26 kids. State guidelines recommend around 17 to 19 for kindergarten and first grade, for reference. I think everyone here can figure out what your better chances are for education with having either a 1:17 ratio or a 1:26, especially at that young age when that's one of the most critical times for our young kids, where their brains are like a sponge.
And their bodies are very active.
And that's going to come right into another cut that's coming up here. But I'll also add, we need to have staff that are willing to teach these bigger classes, okay? I can only think of when I have 10 or 11 over for birthday parties at that age and what I go through. I can't imagine having that many. So the next one, to your point, reduce physical education class to the state minimum. That would be every other day. We currently have every day. We're very proud of that. And that's where you think of those young kids, they need to release some energy. And we want to keep them fit. We want to keep them off of devices. We'll eliminate course offerings. We'll charge in-town bus usage. We're not required to bus anyone within 2 miles of our school. That is a state law. We choose to do it because it's the right thing to do. It's the safest thing to do. We have Highway 19 right out in front of our school, but we're not forced to. So by doing this, I would say that I don't think we'd eliminate it, but we will look at having people, we will charge people to do that. I don't know what that amount would be. It could be anywhere from $300 to $500 a year to ask people to ride the bus. We will reduce classroom and department operating budgets. We'll charge senior citizens and students to attend activities. We will increase rental rates and season pass fees. I will also add a lot of these different things that we're looking at increasing. They're already a large amount, and we already just increased them last year. A lot of these are all going to be 100% increases every single year. We'll increase activity participation fees. We're the largest in our conference right now. We're going to look at increasing them even more. What do you think that's going to do for getting kids to participate in more activities and sports? We're going to eliminate the family cap. We're going to reduce coaching staff for golf, reduce support staff positions, which will be administrative assistant, a custodian, and food service. We're already short in all those departments. We're going to charge to view live streaming of events. We'll fund the fall musical through community education. And here's the one. We'll look at possibly implementing a 4-day school week. Voting. Where can you vote? You can vote right now. Maybe not right at this minute, but you can vote between 8 o'clock and 4:30, Monday through Friday, all the way up to voting day on November 4th. Else, November 4th, right here at City Hall, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Anything here that you want to see this exact presentation, you want to see more information, just go to our website. Plenty of stuff there. I will also say that all my contact information is on the website, or superintendents, any of the other school board members. Feel free to reach out. We want that. I think we're up to about 24 or so presentations that we're doing here so far, but I want to meet with you. I don't care if it's one person, 10, 15, 20. If you have questions, please reach out. Any questions from the council?
I got one. Do you guys know, I mean, is there anything from the state? I mean, obviously the state passed down all this stuff and it's creating stress on you and your budget. Has the state or legislature or anybody indicated any sort of funding relief for you guys outside of the levy and all that stuff?
That is something that they continue to talk about every single year. The problem is it just doesn't tend to happen. And so that's where it's really tough to predict on what our funding is going to be like 5 years from now, 10 years from now. We never know. And, you know, one question I've gotten asked from, you know, when I'm talking to different people, especially like senior citizens, where I'm say, hey, let's try to pay this back. They'll ask me, they'll tell me, you know, when I was in school.
Bradley, do you work with any other small towns here in Goodhue County?
So,
or in the area?
Yeah, Red Wing is a member, and then going kind of down the river, Wabasha, Plainview, which I don't think is Goodhue County, but near enough.
Yeah.
So a number of nearby communities.
Any other questions from the council?
Silly one, is this the conference we went to?
No.
Nope.
A different one?
No, so that was the
League of Minnesota Cities.
You went to a conference last fall?
Well, somewhere.
Because I started in December.
Maybe it was in the spring. We drove somewhere south of here. It was in the basement.
Oh, the January one. That's the Southeastern League Municipal.
So it's a different
leagues.
organization.
So that's a different
Okay.
organization. Yeah. So that one just serves the 11 counties of southeastern Minnesota.
Okay.
Similar, and they, you know, there's a definite distinctive focus on the work that they do and the focus areas and the needs of southeastern Minnesota is different from the rest of the state. What the coalition, I would say, in terms of my experience with them, definitely would complement and serve us additionally to that. I'm not saying they're a replacement, nor am I saying, you know, you join the league or you join the coalition. You participate in as many advocates supporting as you can, because these issues are really important. I'll put my previous experience working for two different cities. My first city, we were not members. They are members now, and I moved to Little Falls and started there. We were members, and it took me very little time to regret not being a member of the coalition when I was in Madison, Minnesota. Like the issue areas that they worked on were the same for Madison as they were for Little Falls at the time. The advocacy and the work that I was able to do in partnership with the coalition for issues surrounding wastewater and childcare, which were huge issues for the city of Little Falls in 2017, 18, and 19. I would not have been able to achieve the success and the support that we did at the state level had it not been working with the coalition. So I know these folks. I've worked with them in the past. I know their mission and core and the way they operate, and the team that Bradley leads, and that the way they do it is truly one of the best. And that's to say that, you know, they're not going to be your sole resource. You participate with the league. I think the Southeastern Municipal League is a great resource as well. They have some focus areas that help us too, but having the coalition available to us is I think could be a very beneficial. So Bradley, if you wanted to mention too, like how the rate structures work for memberships.
Yeah, absolutely. So as a, not a current member, and one that hasn't, a city that hasn't been a member for a little bit, we do phase in your membership over time. So we start with sort of 25% of what the total would be, and then ramp it up by 25% over 4 years until you hit your total. And so your first year of membership, the kind of 1/4 of the total, would be $1,915, I think is what we calculated. And, you know, there's certainly no obligation from one year to the next. You do it for 1 year and you think, it's not for us. We'll be sad to see you leave, but we'll leave as friends. But I think, you know, if you do become members and engage and really absorb and engage with the material that we're putting out there and come to conferences and such, I think you'll find value in it.
Anything else from the council? Thank you for your patience tonight.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your meeting.
Thank you. All right, that gets us to consent agenda. Consent agenda items may be adopted under one motion as presented or may be removed for discussion and resolution as council business. I'll go through them. Item A, just and correct claims, the accounting period ending October 2nd, 2025. Item B, meeting minutes for September 8th, 2025 City Council work session. Item C, meeting minutes for September 16th, 2025 City Council meeting. Item D, approve council meeting date change for November. Item E, approve health insurance renewal and additional plan option. F, acceptance of John Birch Park Improvement Project. G, Resolution 2829, accepting grant from Goodhue County Co-op Electric Association, $750 to the Parks Department. Item H, approve lease agreement for Stryker medical equipment for the ambulance department. Item I, approve Laserfish conversion. Item J, approve John Deere 325G compact track loader trade. Item K, approve the purchase of a second Grid B AP500 wet well mixer. Item L, approve disposal of surplus equipment for public works. Item M, approve disposal of surplus equipment and purchase of replacement tractor for public works. Item N, Resolution 2830, accepting a monetary donation of $640 for a memorial bench in honor of Jane Duckett. Item O, Resolution 2831, receiving preliminary report and calling public hearing on 2026 street utility improvements. Item P, introduction and first reading of ordinance 411, an ordinance authorizing the sale of parcel number 52.140.0140. And item Q, approve signage of Hoffman Street East and First Street North. Is there anything the council would like to pull down? Hearing none, I would accept a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion from Diane. I think Lisa got a second in there? Lisa got the second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. It carries. Gets us to our reports. Library Board, Nicole.
Well, there's nothing from the library board, but I do want to let people know that, this weekend, on Saturday, the library is hosting NAMI Minnesota from 10 to 2. They're doing a workshop called Hope for Recovery. It's a 4-hour workshop for participants to learn about anxiety disorders, bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder, depression, schizophrenia, and co-occurring disorders, including diagnostic assessment processes, treatments, and recovery. So lots of things that people can learn. This is a free workshop, and I know that NAMI has a registration on their website and also on Eventbrite. So yeah, that was really fun to plan.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Nicole. The Joint Powers Trail Board. What do I got there? Nothing new? All right. The EDA met on October 2nd. Laura, if you just want to give a quick update.
Yep, the Mylars, which the EDA signed, and those are at the county now to be recorded. So once the plat is recorded, then that's very good news. So we can sell some lots. They will break ground on October 20th. So they'll start the mass grading for that and then get as much infrastructure as they can in yet this year. So we're excited for that. The The farmer did get some of the crop out, so that is good. Talked to him on Saturday, so, anyway. so-
Timing is just right. It's been dry and we're hoping for soft weather so that
Yeah, his
Get that
equipment
infrastructure.
broke down Saturday evening, so he was gonna try to get more of it out. But anyway, so we have some progress, so we're excited about that. That's all I have.
Thank you. Public Works and Park Board also met on October 2nd.
Everything was on
Consent
the-
agenda? I figured there was a lot of Public
Yeah,
Works
I
in
mean,
there.
obviously, Jed wants to say
Jed has a lot of
anything, but-
paperwork in there.
Yeah.
All right, let's go around the horn. We'll start with Jed.
Just a reminder, it is October, the watering sewer credit has ended. So all those that are still watering your lawn, just know that to expect a bigger bill because you're gonna pay for that sewer as part of it. My guys have started flushing hydrants this week. If your water does end up a little bit yellow, just run a bathtub and it should clear up shortly. And finally, the asphalt, our Rochester Sand and Gravel should be paving this Thursday and Friday, Thursday for Friday, our last of our little bit of road asphalt. So then we're wrapping things up for later as far as the street project.
All right, thank you, Jed. Bill, how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you, Mayor. A couple quick items. So you set in motion earlier in the consent agenda, you did approve the 2026 street project, and you did set in motion the assessment process. So John and I talked, we should give you a little heads up of what will happen. So a couple council members, you've been through the assessment process. So on your November 4th council meeting, we will have a public hearing on the project. So the public hearing will involve, I will give a presentation, John and Jed can chime in as well, and that will be the public's chance to give you input. So for those who've been through this before, they'll be able to give input on should this project proceed. So Mayor, we've called this the thumbs up or thumbs down vote. This is a super majority of the council. What that does is says, hey, we've heard your input and we have decided to continue with this project. Just a reminder, this project is a continuation of the 2023 street project, which was actually the sewer bridge, lift station, and in 2023, the council decided to break this project up into 3 phases. So this is the last of those 3 phases. So, and then after that that hearing, you'll have that vote, and then we will proceed with moving towards having final plans prepared and going out for bid this spring, at which time we have another hearing where then people will be able to present evidence, if they so choose, to the valuation of their assessment. So first one, thumbs up, thumbs down, and then in the spring, when we actually have bids, we'll have real amounts. Second item, just a quick one. We heard earlier on the data center. As I'm listening and I hear comments on sewer and water, as the council, we have a lot of information. The AUAR process, we have thoroughly examined our water, our sewer. We know where we are on our infrastructure. And this is just for you guys, if you want to ask questions, Thursday night would be a great time. We as staff, we've given you a lot of information. Sometimes it's a lot to digest, so we're more than welcome the chance to dazzle you with our information again. So,
all right.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Bill. We'll see you on Thursday. Izzy?
I will just note the next planning commission meeting is this coming Monday, so we'll be discussing items that were tabled at the last planning commission regarding tract.
All right. Thank you.
Izzy, I got a question on that. Just so I'm clear, just for public information, that meeting, we've already had a public hearing on that, so there will be no comments from the public based on tract, is that correct?
Yep, so public hearings were all on September 8th, so there's no public hearing scheduled for this coming Monday.
Okay, thank you.
But then, of course, there is public input at the beginning.
Okay. Laura? No updates?
Just a couple things. Halloween's around the corner. One thing that we've noticed recently, we've seen an uptick of kids from mainly outside of the city coming and trying to look at our abandoned buildings that we have. Just to remind everybody, if you see something, say something. A couple of our buildings are not safe for individuals to be running around in, especially kids. So please, if you see somebody by either the Progressive Rail, the old nursing home, the old Dairy Queen, any of these buildings, please let us know so that we can arrest them and make sure nobody gets injured and take care of it. Like I said, most of these kids have not been locals. We've been following up on videos that we've gotten from the general public, but just remind everybody to call us and let us know if you see something.
All right. Thank you very much. Nicole, anything else you'd like to add?
I did forget to add that during the trick-or-treat trot, there we go, during the trick-or-treat trot, we will be handing out candy. So please stop at the library because we could have good candy.
All right, candy and books.
Yeah.
Sarah? Nothing? John?
Okay, would you want me to address some of the questions brought up in the public comment piece? I think I can certainly.
Yeah, if you would like to. I know a lot of the audience members left, but this will be on YouTube, and we also will have the work session on Thursday. If you would like to,
I think,
go ahead.
yeah, there's definitely some concerns of our ability to respond. I know at the Planning Commission meeting, a lot of questions were asked. The way that this thing's played out, like we weren't able to answer them. What we're alluding to on Thursday is our joint work session that we have again with the Planning Commission, which is a public meeting. But it's informational, only no actions, decisions are at that time. But our chance for you as council and the Planning Commission to ask a lot more questions of the developer and the application they have. And we will have more defined terms from the development agreement that we'll be able to share at that time. So that is a big part of the questions that that came up and why we haven't presented, because that development agreement wasn't in a phase that I felt we've reached tentative agreements, or in a position where we have that after a meeting today. I feel like we're a lot closer to a point where we can talk about the terms in which we have agreements. There are things yet to be finalized. So primarily going to focus on Anna's questions because they were succinct and direct. So one, water use. As we've discussed and what we've presented in our studies, there is a cap within the development agreement for water and sewer, so water distribution and sewer collections. So on the water distribution side, the requested amount is at the end point of development. So this is a 10-year development plan. At the end of 10 years, 43 million gallons per year is the cap of which water that they can draw from the city. Just as I think it's interesting the circumstances that are aligned to this. So the property that they are intending on purchasing has an irrigation well on it that has an appropriation for 41 million gallons per year. So that well, as part of our annexation agreement, cannot be used for their purposes unless the city has an emergency use in which we cannot provide them water for a period of time. We'd have to notify them. There would have to be a lot of things in place. In addition to that, they have to get approval from the DNR to amend that permit so that they can use water from that well in order to use it for this purpose, because it's changing use. It's going from agricultural irrigation to something different. So they got to get permission from the DNR, as well as there has to be very specific emergency-only circumstances in which they can draw out of that well. So in effect, that well goes away. Our allocation, fills up 43 million over a 10-year period. So there is a cap on terms of that use. On the sewer side, within the most recent request, the end collection amount on an average is 50,000 gallons a day. So a lot more water on the usage side, but a lot less coming back to us on a per day basis. Back again to the studies that we conducted. This was a very important reason why we did the studies, was to understand what our systems can use. That is well within the capacity of our existing sewer treatment plant for how much water we can take on and be able to treat from it. So in terms of how that water is actually used, what its the cooling purpose, the systems that they have, a lot of those things are way past our ability today to predict or determine what they're going to be. But in terms of setting a cap for water and sewer, those have been set within the development agreement. And at this point, for our purposes from the staff side, because I know in council you have not been a part of that. Not to say that you can't have input. You should have input, and you should, if you have concerns about that, that should be addressed on Thursday, because we have time to change them. Those are the amounts that we're at for water and sewer. Surety bond. This is probably the thing that we have been at the table and most in back and forth discussions, and is not yet to the final stage of completion. But what we want to ensure is that within this project, there are infrastructure needs for the developer to be delivered to the site. So one is is the mains, the water and sewer mains to get to the site. At the site, we have been discussing having a water tower constructed. So they would dedicate land for us, the city, to then construct a water tower on the property. Additionally, we have a new user that would likely be what we call a significant industrial user coming onto the system. They would accommodate that, even though it's still 50,000 gallons per day, that's still going to be a high level user for us. And what we've talked about is, instead of them being charged a higher rate than everybody else because they're coming into our system, if we can get a forward contribution to that, that would offset any need for us to bill them more. So what we would be asking them to do is what we call a capital improvement charge. So paying us in advance for the improvements that we're going to have to make at the sewer plant just because of its age. It's 25 years old. On the tower side, what we're asking for is a specific dollar amount that's paid. What we're at right now is when that is going to be paid specifically, and then what guarantees are there, the surety about the payment of that amount when the project gets approved. So those things are still on the table, being discussed, and where we're trying to get finalized.
John, will those numbers be public by Thursday?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can't share them now, but you can share them on Thursday.
Yes.
Perfect.
What's going on Thursday?
We're having that joint session work with Tract.
It's 6:30 right here as well. So, again, it's a work session. It is a public meeting, so the public is able to attend, but it's not necessarily we don't have a public input session. We don't have a public hearing. It's primarily information for the council and planning commission members to ask questions of the developer. The infrastructure for using another purpose, yes, is the answer. So if the infrastructure is there to serve the site, it can be utilized for purpose. The pipe in the ground is not specialized to the case. It's crafted in a way or designed in a way to handle high levels of flows and then some, but it's not specifically built for data centers. It can be used for many other things. So if this doesn't work and the land stays within the city, it is right now it's in the process of being zoned towards industrial. It is intercom planned as a planned area for industrial expansion. It's adjacent to our industrial park. Likely that would be a style of use that could potentially be out there if this project doesn't move forward. The noise pollution, as part of our agreements, and Tract has agreed to these, and these are in the process of the land use decisions that are still at the planning commission stage. Noise pollution, any noise is governed by MPCA. As we talked about recently with an IUP for a local person operating out of their garage, creating noise, the MPCA actually on this instance is something that they would respond to if there's complaints. They would study it and they would address it. So there would be mechanisms in which if they are generating noise that exceeds the levels allowable from the MPCA into various zones, residential, so if it crosses from this industrial into the residential and it exceeds the thresholds that MPCA and the state have established, then there are repercussions. They do have to do mitigation measures to alleviate that noise pollution. So they cannot do that. That is, MPCA governs that law. We do have noise standards of our own. However, ours are more vehicle related than they are an industrial related purpose, and ours are above. Right now, the MPCA thresholds in which this situation would govern are actually more strict than what our standards are. So we would, defer to them to manage that. However, we can support them in the enforcement of it, and it's part of our agreements. If they don't meet those, or if they exceed those and they violate that, and they don't have mitigation strategies, then we can revoke their conditional use permit. Taxable income. As this project has gone on from prior to my start, there has been no discussion, ask for, well, maybe there was an ask, but it never has come up in my time here, of a TIF district, tax increment financing, tax abatement, no tax dollars from the city going to subsidize this project. Tract has never asked for that. They have mentioned that they may leave that to the end user to be able to ask for things, but I have clearly and 100% every single time that's been brought up, Tract said this council at this time has never been in support of tax dollars going to incentivize this project. None. They have also discussed in it a contribution for park dedication fee based on our current plan, which is a $494,000 one-time park dedication fee based on our code. And within this development agreement, there is a dedicated contribution to the school district.
Will that number be able to be shared on Thursday, or is
Do you
that-
want to talk with the school district before we say what that is?
Got it.
That was what we committed to being able. So that, and if they're, have to predict the future, which I don't like to do, I don't think the appetite for this council or future councils that are going to be a big, large-scale end user coming in to work in this data center, that they're going to offer or accept or, entertain any sort of tax. That is a big portion of what we've looked at and where these funds have come from. That is some additional information that I'll share. Tract has done they have done their presented from Ernst & Young a taxable market values impact study. I reviewed that. Laura and I saw the presentation, discussed making sure that are all the assumptions that are going into this correct, because Minnesota is very complicated, and I feel pretty confident in what I saw and that what they've listed that those are. I've then compared that to my own analysis for what I can project. Obviously, this is very future based. These are things we don't exactly know. It's kind of at some points it's just like throwing darts at the wall while you're spinning around in a circle with a blindfold on. But to my best knowledge, I would say that they're pretty accurate in terms of what we have. So that's something I've shared with the council, and we can talk about more on Thursday. The last two items that she brought up are the energy costs and the financial aid for utilities. So in terms of the energy costs, we heard from Dakota Electric and Great River Energy that their strategy working with developers like this is that they also pay their way for the infrastructure. That they're the ones contributing to this cost so that it does not impact the rates of future users. Now, you get that one thrown back in my face anytime I talk about it, but that is what they were told. That's what we are told from the people that would be providing the energy, the ones that are setting the rates for that. We set the rates on the water and sewer, they set the rates on the electric side.
John, can I add to that?
Yes.
So I called Dakota Electric and got in touch with their engineering division, and I was told by them that all costs would be upfront paid for by Tract with upgrades in respect to request to whatever the system is, and they're paying for transmission and distribution. That's what I was told by Dakota Electric. So echoing what you just said.
So in terms of, if that's the case, then back to our water side and our development agreements and why these funds and things are there to pay for this work is so that we are not pushing this cost back onto our users in the system. That they're paying their way for these improvements, that we can then take their consumption at the limitations that we are establishing on it, plan for that to be incorporated within our existing system, and plan for that within our capacity to expand the system naturally. Whatever growth that we do have, that was part of this, efforts of the study that we conducted back earlier this year, so that we still have existing capacity. So we are not jeopardizing future users. We're not jeopardizing existing users from being able to receive water from us and send their sewer back to us for treatment purposes. That has been a very important element in every conversation that we started with, and I will say I will give Tract a lot of credit on they've heard that and they've incorporated that into these allocations and requests in this development agreement.
Really quick, and just not only the cost, like with electricity, isn't it also true that use of that electricity, the residents are priority over industrial? Is that, so it's not even the money. We're not going to have an outage just because they're using too much power. We have priority over industrial use.
And that's, yes, and that is governed by the Public Utilities Commission and the other regulatory agencies over that. And we also address those. Any state regulatory agency that has influence over Tract in the data center in the project, they have to meet those. If we are not satisfied that they are not meeting those standards and guidelines, We can revoke the CUP. We can take this away. If they are not doing that, that is part of the agreements. That is what Tract is asking.
So to Laura's point, I mean, I believe we asked Dakota Electric when they're sitting here, you know, what about blackouts? What do you think, or is this going to happen? And they said they would not overcommit to the system. This is their, and when I talked to them, they said this is their first one on their system.
They have standards that they have to meet in the plan of increasing and providing this, that they have to, again, they cannot just add to more power because this is a high-end user at the sacrifice of it. They have regulations they have to meet. So the financial aid for the utilities is not something that we have looked at. However, I feel that based on this plan, if accepted and approved, that is something that will put us in a position in which our rates are absolutely not going to go up. Understandably, this development is going to take a long time, so there's going to be a lot of time before, you know, the users are coming into full fruition. Their allotments are, you know, expected to be in phases, so they're not asking for the full 43 million gallons in the first year. They have caps in which the first couple of years that are lower. So we will be able to anticipate and plan for where those rates need to be. The way our current system is, and with the kind of excess capacity that we have, both on the water side and the sewer side, it is, in theory, very possible that by them coming onto the system and staying within these limitations, that the revenue we would receive from those water consumptions and sewer distribution back to us are higher than the cost of the operations, which they're going to, you know, it's going to take to serve that. So therefore, back to that chart that Clinton showed, you know, inflation outpacing revenues, it's the opposite. Revenues outpacing operating costs. If that is the case, that is absolutely something we can look at and explore and build into our rate structure, you know, and if nothing else changes, if everything stayed status quo of today and we add that into the system, I would say in confidence that you could lower your water and sewer rates. How much? I don't know. That's not the answer. But in theory, if you're budgeting for that and then you have now new revenues that are outpacing your expenses, in theory, you can lower them.
Say, question for Thursday, are we, and maybe you already covered this, and apologies if you did, but you know, one of the questions that I've seen a lot is like, are they going to be held to, like, obviously you said they're going to be capped at X number of million gallons. If they go over, that's in the stipulations and the agreement and how
those
that's
things
going to be
aren't
addressed?
yet in the agreement. Those are things that we would have to determine, like what are the circumstances in which you penalties if you. But those are.
But that is something that is on your mind.
Yeah, we
Both
brought
parties
up
are
with
looking
them,
at, okay.
and we're discussing because Tract's position is that, you know, not they're the developer, not the end user. It's like, you know, somebody building housing development, selling homes to somebody else. Like those are things that, you know, likely we would put into the significant industrial user agreements that we would have with whoever that final user is of the party. So we may not, I will say, I'll admit, this one, we may not have that final answer, but it's something that absolutely is on our radar. It's not something that will be forgotten.
Any other questions for John?
I just wanted to make a couple other points too, is that, you know, this site will be served by Dakota Electric, where a majority of the city is actually served by Xcel. We have a small sliver of like the northern part of town where residents are served by Dakota Electric, but a majority of Cannon Falls is actually served by Xcel. So if that helps satisfy some of the questions with the brownouts or, you know, people worried about that type of a thing. So I wanted to make sure that that was cleared up. The other thing, as far as some of the other costs or concerns that maybe it was, I know that it was addressed very early on when we were, when this project was coming out into the public, and now that it's gotten more attention, maybe it hasn't been resurfaced, but, you know, there's also the escrow agreement too, where, you know, our attorneys that have been, you know, working on this, our engineers that have been putting time into this, you know, any other consultants that have been engaged have also been covered under an escrow agreement too. So, the city is, the time that's been put into that too has been covered. So it's not on the city. So I think that that's another important thing that is put out into the public as well.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah, thanks, Laura. And thank you, John, for all your work that you put into this project. It's been, what, 10 months going on now?
Yeah, I believe it was announced about a year ago at this time.
Yeah.
So, and I've been here for 10 months. So
Yeah.
I've
So
been working.
since you started?
Yeah, so.
Hit the ground running.
Before, it started before I got here, but.
All right. Obviously, if we have more questions or discussion points, we can save those for Thursday, because that will be a very informative event, and I do appreciate the public tonight, and they're invited to that, but again, that is not going to be a public hearing, that's not going to be public input, that's just going to be information sharing in a work session. So you're free to attend, but there won't be any back and forth or Q&A. We'll finish up around the horn. Laura?
Okay, thank you.
Chris?
McDonald's update? What do we got? Sorry. I see it all over the internet. I just couldn't see.
Their demo permit was just submitted to Goodhue County, so that's an approval to get demolition started soon here.
Okay. So are we thinking like spring or?
Oh, sooner than that, right?
I don't have a
If we had to
timeline
guess.
quite yet.
All right.
But no demo yet, if that helps kind of
All right.
align you with your times.
Thank you.
Jeff, anything? No. Diane?
I know you said we were done with the data center, but once again, to express my appreciation for everybody who came, people who continue to submit comments. Obviously, I've had many of the same concerns and appreciate the work that our staff is doing, and to emphasize that we do have the outside attorney who specializes in data center, reviewing everything also, which reassures me to some degree. And once again, would I rather have something other than the data center sitting there? Definitely. It appears that that's what we're going to get, and so, my hope is that we indeed answer all these questions and we get the best possible agreement for the city. And I do not believe, listening to what our folks have done, that they're going to take advantage of us. I think if we're smart, we'll do it well.
Thanks, Dan. Lisa?
I'm good.
Jad?
I'm going to go with Diane on that. I think this thing, if done right, it can be very well regulated. And we're actually better because of the people that come out and bring up the points. And we have to think about those things too. So when you come out here, like John spent 10 minutes explaining, kind of answering the questions that a lot of people have. I've followed the sites go that are around town, the no data center signs, and a lot of them stem from what happened in Farmington. And if you look at that, they've got YouTube videos where they did a thing in the park, and Drew Roach and Bill Leske, the senators, came out and they said, hey, we're not against data centers, we're against doing it wrong and having the wrong regulation. And people they'll go to the towns and they say prey on them because they didn't do the work. And so by people coming out here, it helps make it better. So thank you. And if it does go through, I mean, at least we'll have it really well regulated, and we're trying to think of everything ahead of time. So if you got more things, keep bringing them, because we want to do it right. So that's what I got.
All right. Thanks, Chad. And I appreciate everybody that spoke in public input tonight. Very respectful, very focused questions, and we appreciate their time. And like Chad said, the questions that get brought up make us have to work to try to come up with the answers and to get some clarity to help explain these issues. On a side note, I want to say thank you to Keith Myers. This Saturday is going to be the last 5th and 6th grade rookie tackle football game, and he has been the football director for 11 years, and this is his last year. He's handing it off, and we talk about being an elected official. Clinton said it too on the school board. There's a lot of times there's thankless jobs. I think when it comes to community events and youth sports, there's a lot of people that do a lot of work that put in lots of time, 2 practices a week, the games on Saturdays, the all the gear, the helmets, the shoulder pads that he stores in his office in downtown, countless hours of work that gets put into these things, and he's done it for 11 years. And I've been lucky to have 2 of my boys get to go through that. And it's been a great sports program, and he has been the leader for 11 years. So thank you to Keith for his 11 years of service for that. And then best wishes to Mike Ayers, who he's handing it off to, that's going to take it over from here. So with that, I would take a motion to adjourn. Motion from Lisa, second from Jeff. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.